Hey everyone, Miss Dempsey here, and today we are taking a trip to the spa, the racetrack, not the establishment. But anyways, I've been doing a couple of races over here, and overall, it has been a ton of fun just trying it out in different cars just to see how they handle. And over here, we are hanging out with the Mercedes-AMG GT3, and why do I hear boss music? Hey, let me just check over here. Oh dear lord. It's him. It's Turismo Lamb. This race is already going to be a hard one. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, Lamb is one of the best Gran Turismo Sport players in North America and arguably the world, right? Because he's been in some of the Gran Turismo Sport World Tour events and he's done pretty good. So when I saw his name on the list, I got nervous, right? Because it's just going to be a matter of time of when Lamb will catch up to me, and I'm not ready to battle out because he's gonna kick my butt. But either way, he has two other people that he needs to get around or through before he gets to me. And out of 8 laps, I need to get basically perfect lap times, or at least consistent lap times that happens to be like just even a slither of a bit better. And hopefully that'll keep him away from me. And as you see in the top right, he already just passed one person. So now there's one other person between him and I'm just trying to keep my cool. Right now he's still pretty far away, well, at least to an extent. So right now all I need to do is just focus on how I'm doing. But in the meantime, let's just go ahead and focus on his perspective, which is why I'm using the replay feature. And also I wasn't recording like my actual gameplay at the times, which is why you're seeing the replay. And as you see, so I ended up skipping up to lap 5 because nothing really happened other than that he was just slowly catching up to second place. I'm still a couple of seconds ahead, but the thing is that I don't know exactly how far he is from me. I could just look back, but mostly I'm just focused on trying to keep a consistent pace. Now, we have Lamb who's getting much closer to second place. Second place actually overshoots the braking point just a little bit, goes a little bit wide, and Lamb is just going to go ahead and sneak on in. The car is just wanting to squirm around, but successfully passes second place. So now he's in that position. Now we're starting 6th place, and all he has to do is try to catch up to me. And we're going to go ahead and fast forward just 1 lap. So now we're at the start of lap 7, and he's getting pretty close. I think at this point he can start to get the slipstream from me, as I think all you need to do is just be about 1.5 seconds behind the car ahead of you and you'll start to get it. And at this point I know he's right behind me, or not right behind me, but I know he's behind me, and I'm going to be pretty nervous about that. I'm going to try to see if I can push the car just a little bit more, and it's going to be a little difficult, especially as the tires are starting to show signs of wear. But I still have a bit of a gap between him and I, but it's going to be difficult. As he inches closer, as you see here, he actually kind of just gained a bit of time right there. My car, I think it's a bit of it on me. I'm just not having a good time trying to get those turns right. And now we're on lap 8. He's getting even closer now. And at this point, I'm honestly starting to get really nervous and even just a little bit terrified, because I am definitely not ready to take it on with a player that is this good like Turismo Lamb. And he's just getting closer and closer due to the slipstream and braking just a little bit later than I do. And he's just reeling me in very slowly. And at this point he has to do it now because, once again, this is the final lap. And as we approach this turn right here, I end up braking just a little bit too late. I go a little bit wide, so now he's right on my tail. And now I'm really terrified because I don't know how the heck I'm going to be able to defend my position against someone like him. And because I'm so terrified, I completely forgot to defend the inside line. So The door's wide open. He just goes right in, makes himself at home, and starts to take first place. Now I'm not going to be able to retake the position over here, but because I did do some fuel saving throughout the entire race, I do have a bit of extra fuel to burn. So now at this point, I bring the fuel mapping all the way to the power setting, so fuel map 1, and I'm going to see if I can try to pass him over here at this straight that is coming up. And it's going to be a little difficult, especially with worn tires, trying to get a good exit over here. And the exit was okay, it wasn't the best, but with the slipstream and with the fuel mapping at 1, I'm going to see if I can try to get a pass on him before we enter this turn, and I'm not able to, but we still got the hairpins coming up. I'm going to see if I can try to go on the inside as he ends up defending the inside line. I can't really bring myself into it, otherwise I would end up causing disaster and he'll probably hate me forever. And unfortunately, he ends up passing me for good, and we end up finishing about 4/10 of a second apart from each other. I mean, it was terrifying, but at the same time it just got really intense, and it was still a very good race. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what happened in this second race. Alright, now we're taking a look at the second race, and in this one I happen to be in the Ford GT. This car, I mean, it's not the greatest when it comes to turns, but when it comes to straight line speed or going for the top speed, this thing will just fly away. And as first place ends up going just a little bit wide, so we're going to see if we can try to catch up to him a little bit. And with the slipstream, this car will just be even faster, which will need me to brake even earlier when we come across this next turn over here. But I mean, we're just at fuel map 2. Eventually I want to bring it to fuel map 6 because I want to try to save as much fuel, especially in this car, so I can have just that tiny bit extra fuel left towards the end of the race. That way I can just go all out if I can and potentially secure myself a win. Now we skipped on over to lap 2, and I've noticed that first place is kind of just getting further and further away, and at this point I'm starting to think that he is potentially hanging out on just fuel map 1. He's not really fuel saving, as third place just comes along, gets all the slipstream benefits out of me, and I don't want to fight with him for too much, so I'm just going to let him by, get as much slipstream as I can, just hang out right behind him. And we will also see if second place is going for the same fuel strategy that I am. So we're skipping on over to lap 4. Once again, I'm still hanging out right behind second place. I'm just trying to get as much slipstream I can out of him just to save that extra bit of fuel, because it really matters in this race. First place, well, he's pretty far away, so at this point I'm thinking that he's going to have to pit either at the end of this lap, 5th lap, 6th lap, or even the 7th lap. And the only reason why I think that is because he's been going all out and trying to build that gap. Now we're going to see if he does go into the pit stop, and indeed he does. And the thing is that the pit entry in this track is actually pretty long. You kind of just have to wait a while before your car actually enters the pit stop and does what you need it to do. So at this point he's pretty much out of the race, at least for the battle of first place. So now it's just first place and I who are going to be battling it out, and he's getting a little bit further away from me. So once again, this car, the Ford GT, I mean, it's not the greatest when it comes to turns, so the AMG is going to have a bit of an advantage over me. And as we go on over to the last lap, the final lap, this is where I can finally start to really bring out the inner beast of this car. So I'm going to see if I can try to catch up to him, and with all this straight line speed over here, I'm definitely going to be able to at least get a lot closer to him, as I end up getting a shortcut penalty, barely going off track. So now the question is, can I pass him and try to bring myself to be at least 1 second ahead of him? There's only one area where you can serve the penalty, and I already passed it. I actually got the penalty right before I got to that serving area, so I can't serve it now. I mean, we're in the final lap. So we're going to see if we could try to pass him somewhere along the way. It's going to be really difficult, especially in a car that doesn't react too well to the turns, at least in my experience. So what we're going to do, we're going to see if we can apply a little bit of pressure on him, try and see if we can get to force a mistake on him. And it's going to be a little difficult because it seems like he really knows what he's doing, and he's also on a pretty stable car, so it's going to be even harder to really force a mistake on him unless if he ends up just braking really late. And I'm going to stay right behind him. You know, he knows I'm trying to pass him, so I can try to get a second ahead of him. And here we go. We're about to enter the area where I absolutely have to pass him, and I'm still thinking that there's still time. He could potentially overshoot the bus stop or the double hairpins at the very end of the track, and we're going to go ahead and pass him. He lets us through. We're going much faster than him, so now it's time to see if we could try to build a 1 second gap on him. And it's going to be extremely difficult because we only have 2 hairpins left, or 2 turns left, but it can be really easy to mess it up. If he ends up just even messing it up just a little bit, that could definitely get us the win. And unfortunately, he ends up nailing those 2 hairpins, and even though I crossed the line first, I still have to serve a 1 second penalty. And well, yeah, so he finished in first place, and I finished 0.4 of a second behind after the penalty was served. So I mean, it was still a good race. I still had a lot of fun. I just felt a little silly for barely going off track and getting that penalty at the worst time. But oh well, stuff like this happens. Let's go ahead and go to the third and final race. Alright, and we are in the third and final race for this video. We are hanging out with the Dodge Viper. Some of you may think that I'm crazy for doing a race in this car, and you know what, you're probably right. But I was just really curious to see how this car would do. I've kind of been noticing that there's a handful of cars that do pretty well in this race, so I was just curious to see if the Dodge Viper was one of them. And well, here's the thing. So before one of the, the tire physics update of May 2019, I loved driving around in the Dodge Viper for the Group 3 and Group 4. And as you see here, after the update, like, this car just understeers like crazy. I had to use the brake at Eau Rouge just to get the car to turn so I don't get an off-track penalty. And I mean, that's kind of the thing that bothers me about the Dodge Viper, is that they just don't like to turn nowadays. It's like you tell it to turn right, and well, I mean, it kind of just goes straight. But rant aside, so we're hanging out behind this guy over here, and if you don't recognize him, he was the one who started ahead of us in the last race as well. He was the one that pitted, so now, you know, he knows that the no stop is the way to go. So he's going to be fuel saving quite a bit, and especially in the high speed sections, you're going to see him going a lot slower, and that's because he's just fuel saving a lot. And as you see here, he's going a lot slower, and I've thought about passing him, but I'm just deciding, you know what, I'm just going to try to see how much fuel I can save, because once I'm out of the slipstream, I don't really have too much of an idea how this car is in terms of fuel consumption. It could be a bit of a gas saver, or it could be a bit of a gas chugger. So I'm not going to take that risk. I'm just going to hang out right behind him, and hopefully the guys behind don't end up catching up, because once they do, then I might be in trouble, especially if they are in a MR car like the Audi RA LMS or in the 911 RSR, because those cars like to turn, they like to rotate around here. The Viper just takes a turn, period. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, so we're skipping over to the start of lap 3, and once again, it looks like he's just running it on fuel up 6, because he's just going really slowly through here, really slowly through Eau Rouge. And yeah, so as you saw right there, I have 2 cars right behind me, and we're all just going to be hanging out with each other, having a good time, having a nice little party for the 4 of us. And I'm going to see if I can try to pass him, but unfortunately, I'm not able to, so I'm just going to tuck myself back right behind him as I get bumped by third place. So I'm getting a little bit nervous just because this car, once again, it just hates to turn. We've got the AMG hanging out right next to us, and that car does a lot better than this one, so I mean, I'm not going to battle it out. And there's another car right behind us, and I think it's it's a 911 RSR. So once again, I'm just here thinking, what the heck am I going to do? And as I almost end up hitting second place, and fourth place is right behind us and gets the inside line, so I'm just going to surrender that position just because I don't want to battle it out. I want to try to stick to second and first place. So at this point, it's just like, okay, third place, let's work together just to try to keep up with these guys. At the same time, I'll be saving fuel along the way, so I mean, it's not too much to worry about right now. Especially with this car, I just want to see how long I can keep up with these guys, because they are obviously in better cars, and well, I kind of just like gave myself a huge disadvantage just by being in such a meme of a car. So at this point, I mean, I'm in the Dodge Viper, so I'm racing for the meme team over here, and we're going to see how far up we can finish, and it's going to be difficult. We started in second, we fell down to fourth, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay in fourth. I mean, fifth place could even catch up to us, but I mean, they're 5 seconds behind, so I mean, I don't think I'll have to be too worried, as first and second place end up doing a position change. But I mean, once again, I'm just trying to see for how long I can keep up with like 3 guys up ahead. So we skipped on over to lap 6, and I just tried to get a nice clean line over here, and it looks like we did. So we're just gonna go ahead and keep on following these guys along, and once again we got a stupid penalty for slightly going off track somewhere, and as I end up missing my braking point just barely overshoot it, just try to get the car to rotate and just try to get my car back on track and keep on going. And at this point, I'm kind of just thinking, okay, I'm probably not going to be able to catch up to third place. So at this point, I mean, I have to serve the penalty, so I'm going to see if I can try to at least stay on a decent pace so fifth place won't have a chance of catching up to me. And it's going to be difficult, I mean, because we're in the Viper and the tires are going to be suffering, especially on the last 2 laps. As I serve the penalty, someone else has a penalty up ahead, but I mean, I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'm going to have a hard time catching up to them because they're about 3 seconds ahead, or 4 seconds ahead, excuse me. And fifth place is slowly catching up to us, and we're going to skip on over to the final lap as well. Fifth place is now right behind us. First, second, and third are not too far ahead, so they all end up killing each other. Then we could definitely at least take one of those positions. As fifth place here in the Citroen, well, they're just going to go ahead and pass on us just like nothing. And I've actually heard that the Citroen is a really good car for this race, so if you have the time before the races rotate, definitely check it out. So we're going to fast forward this, and I'm just trying to keep up with our friend over here in fourth place. And I'm not able to really push it anymore because the car, well, it's running out of fuel. I'm down to 2%. I have to fuel save as there's someone with a penalty. I almost go off track, and we got a yellow flag, so it looks like an incident happened as someone got punted off. So we got fourth place for now. Someone definitely has a penalty somewhere, so we're going to see who ends up with that penalty, and it's this guy over here with the penalty serving it, and looks like he also ran out of fuel. So we ended up getting a third place finish with the Viper, and that was through the power of skill and, well, luck. Okay, a lot of it was on luck, okay, but still, it was just still a really interesting race with the Viper and with the other cars that I've tried it out this week. But anyways, that is all for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and just a huge thank you for like what's been going on this past week. I mean, the support, it has been overwhelming. I've kind of been trying to process all this. I'm just like, what the heck is happening? It's just a lot going on, but it just makes me so happy to see just all of you, like all the support from you guys. I truly do appreciate it. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. This is Mr. MCA, wishing you all an awesome weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.